welcome back for another week of our Stand United updates. Lots to talk about today. It's Liz and Angela with you as usual, just to discuss a few of our trending topics, trending petitions, what's been going on for us in the past week. As always, we are tuned in on Facebook with you, so please feel free to comment, interact with us. We love audience feedback. It makes the live more interactive and it's fun for everyone. So I'm going to kick it off to Angela as we start covering our first topic.
Awesome. We've definitely got tons to talk about this week. The first being a petition from Idaho, which is really interesting. It's called American Laws for American Courts. And the premise of the petition is to make sure that there is no other law that's being upheld in our courts besides the one that's decided by our government. And that's done with an eye specifically on Sharia law. So these guys out in Idaho, they're called Idaho Act for America. Hey guys. They are petitioning in favor of a bill that's been introduced in the Idaho legislature that would say no other legal system can be upheld here. You gotta stick with US law. So that's going to be a bill that's really exciting, and we certainly wish them the best.
Yeah, that sounds awesome for sure. We'll definitely post links to a lot of the petitions we're talking about throughout the time. So keep an eye out for those if you want to get involved.
Yeah.
So obviously, huge news, current event wise, is Donald Trump finally put up a Supreme Court nominee. We actually did a poll about it last night, and it seems that a lot of our audience is very pleased with this pick. I think it's one of the main reasons why it, really helped Donald Trump win the presidency, is because there was a huge concern about this void that Scalia left almost a year ago.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about, that with Justice Scalia's passing, the 2016 election became that much more important, because not only were we deciding the executive branch, but we were deciding the Supreme Court as well. So the Supreme Court nominee, well, who has yet to be confirmed, is Neil Gorsuch. Am I saying that right?
I think you're right.
Neil Gorsuch, he's from Colorado. He is a very, very well-regarded judge. There are even officials from the past Obama administration who are coming out and saying, we think he's a great pick. Like, agree with him or not, he definitely has the credentials to do a great job. So I'm far from a Supreme Court expert, but it's just really exciting, and we would love to hear what you guys think. Another petition is looking international now. Some of you all may remember that we have a brand new U.S. ambassador to the UN. Her name is Nikki Haley, and she is formerly the governor of South Carolina. She's been very popular with our audience in the past, so we would love to hear what you guys think about how she's doing in her new role. And her new role just became so much more important because of something Iran did this past week.
Yes, definitely. Definitely fill that in. I feel like, a lot of the foreign stuff gets overlooked when there's the protests going on all the time. So I definitely think we should fill people in on that.
Right, there's so much happening here domestically that this story kind of disappeared, but it's a huge deal. Iran launched a ballistic missile in a test late on Sunday, and that is a violation of the Iran sorry, working on it, guys. It's early in the morning, gotta get my words right. They're violating the Iran nuclear deal that was set up back in 2015.
Okay.
So when that happens, there's a really weird process that comes into play. This is really wonky, so stick with me on this, just bear with me. When Iran violates the agreement, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, remember who that is, that's
Nikki Haley.
Exactly. Just checking to make sure everybody's awake. She has to go to the UN Security Council and say, we believe that this has happened. And then there's what's called a snapback provision. And it's called a snapback provision because it snaps all of those old Iran sanctions back into place.
So there seems to be opportunity for Nikki Haley to do that.
Exactly, and that's what she's supposed to do. That's her job. This is not the first time that Iran has launched a ballistic missile, and these things are important because they're capable of carrying a nuclear weapon. They can go hundreds of miles. I believe the one on Sunday was like a failed test. Something went wrong, which, whether it worked or whether it didn't, it's still not right for them to be doing. So there was a past test, and the Obama administration did nothing. They just did not invoke the snapback. I'm not going to speculate as to why. It just didn't happen. But it's a new day, new administration, and if you'd like to see the snapback happen and hold Iran accountable, you go to standunited.org, which you all know and hopefully love because you are watching this, and sign the petition.
Awesome. I will post a link to that as well in a minute.
Perfect. So we just did a super wonky one. You want to do a fun one now?
Yes.
Not that they're not all fun. We love all of our petition children equally.
We definitely like having petitions for fun things, though. I think it gives everyone a breather. And if it actually comes into play, it's awesome to say that you had to do with that decision. So
completely. And this one we could win. We can win on this.
Totally. So I'm sure a lot of people in this audience are big fans of Chick-fil-A. I feel like the popularity went up after the failed attempt of a boycott several years ago, but that's a different story. But many people are fans of Chick-fil-A. They have amazing breakfast from what, 6 to 10, 11?
10:30 in most places, 11:30 if you're really lucky, and you live in a place with a Chick-fil-A that sells breakfast late.
All right.
But like the best time for a chicken biscuit is
like 2 a.m.
all the time? Like
True.
Is there a bad time for Chick-fil-A breakfast?
Yeah, it's true. It definitely seems like something that would be awesome all the time.
Right. So we're petitioning to make that happen. It's a brand new petition, so it's just starting out, which is why we really need you to sign it, and it's important for you to share it as well. I know everybody gets sort of mad about like, oh, political discussion on Facebook. Well, this is your chance. Break it up with a picture of a chicken biscuit.
Definitely. This is a great way to break up the monotony of the constant political banter. I know I definitely get tired of that in my timeline all the time. I'm sure everyone else does too.
Oh yeah, we've all been there. But I think America needs a Chick-fil-A break. So the petition is to have Chick-fil-A offer its breakfast menu all day. And McDonald's started doing that a while back, and it was great for McDonald's. It's made them tons of money. But like McDonald's breakfast, Chick-fil-A breakfast, I know what my favorite is.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Chick-fil-A is way better.
We think that a lot of you might feel the same way. So please go sign that petition and be sure to share it. I just heard we're having Chick-fil-A for lunch, so I'm so excited. But yeah, please sign. All right, another petition. This one is going to sound like a for fun petition, but this is actually super serious. It's out in California. We're very West Coast oriented today.
We are.
We had Idaho, we had California, West Coast. It's early in the morning where you are, but by the time you're watching this, we hope you're ready. So California kind of wants to be its own country, and we're kind of thinking it might be okay to let them do that.
Yes, definitely. I don't know if people have seen the news, but there's actually, I went to school in California. I lived there for a couple of years, so I actually kind of understand their crazy system. But basically, any person can petition basically is what it is, to get any law on the ballot. So Californians super upset with Trump have been talking about seceding, but there's actually a movement with people across the country getting signatures to get that on the ballot. Now, it would not be in the ballot until 2019.
2018 is the ballot measure.
Okay.
And then if that measure passes, they vote again in 2019.
Okay, that's right. So it has to be passed twice. And then even after that, if it actually went through, which, I mean, I guess it could, the implementation of that would take a while. So we're talking probably 5 years out before they would actually be able to secede. But, it's been making the news a lot. So we thought, you know what, let's let them do it.
Yeah, and we're not doing this because we have anything against California. I was just there a few weeks ago. It's beautiful and lovely, and I miss it already. California is great. It also happens to have 55 electoral votes that always go to a Democrat. Mm-hmm. And it also happens to be considering becoming a sanctuary state, which means refusing to abide by federal law.
Statewide.
Whole state. They would be the first in the country to do it. And if they don't want to abide by federal law, and if they are so intent on leaving the country, it might be good for the rest of us to say, bye. Like, we'll miss you guys, but bye, you can leave. So that's a really interesting political implication of this petition of they would not be taking federal funds anymore. We wouldn't have to.
That's probably a good thing. The problem with California's electoral, election process is that it spends so much money. And it's essentially impossible for the California legislator to make a budget because the citizens of California can vote on to send money wherever they want at any point. And it's California, so pretty much any type of tax measure to send money to something gets passed. So the legislators basically can't do a budget because even if they did a budget, the votes would increase it or whatever.
Yeah, that's a lot of money being spent, and this California ballot measure isn't as far-fetched as it might sound. They need just over 500,000 signatures, which sounds like a lot, but there's over 38 million people in California, so you really only need a small fraction to get this thing on the ballot. We have a comment here from Katrina, who says, bad idea on letting California go. Whoever they do deals with could set up military on U.S. soil. That's really interesting, but if California leaves, it wouldn't be U.S. soil. If we have a border wall here in a few years, we might have to change the shape of it, just have it skirt the edge of California. It would be weird. But I think that's a good summary of this week's news, is everything is weird all the time.
It's been a real interesting. Stat says, just wait for the earthquake. It will happen soon enough. Yeah, they've been waiting for that big one for years now. That was the big talk when I lived there, and that's been over 5 years now, and they're still talking about that. So that's definitely, maybe the earth will do it naturally for us. You know?
Gosh, yeah, I don't mean to wish an earthquake on anyone at all. I wouldn't.
Definitely not.
Yeah, we're not wishing an earthquake on anyone. We're just kidding. We're just kidding. We don't want anything bad to happen to California. But if that's a choice that they make politically to say we would like to not be a part of the U.S., we could say, all right, you're our neighbor now. Bye. And then the GOP has a much clearer path forward in winning national elections.
That would definitely be a very rough hit to the Electoral College.
Yeah, if California says, I don't want to be here anymore, I'm taking my kickball and I'm going home, it's going to have global implications far beyond this country. But it's definitely something worth checking out because the people who are working to get California to secede, they have great data behind it and reasons for it about what sort of involvement California has with the federal government. And it's like, well, if you hate the federal government that much,
I mean, it would be an interesting thing because they have everything in that state, and in theory their economy is great, but their voting measures and the way they like to give out money probably would bankrupt them. So it would be an interesting experiment on liberalism as running a country.
Yeah. It'd be like a Scandinavian country or something.
Definitely.
It'd be interesting. It'd be the world's warmest Scandinavian country. That's for sure. Oh, and we have one more update for you guys today. This is pretty cool about the Comedy Central petition.
Yes.
This is regarding the comic who has contributed to Comedy Central in the past. He doesn't work for them, but Comedy Central has given him a platform. Mm-hmm. And he tweeted some really awful stuff about Barron Trump. I'm not going to repeat it, but it's not something you would say about anyone, let alone a 10-year-old.
Right.
It was really terrible. So over 4,000 of you, that's a lot, signed a petition to have Comedy Central cut all ties with this person. And we're mailing it today. So stay tuned. You're going to see a picture of a really giant stack of petitions, and those are yours. They're going to New York, along with a letter that explains the petition and what response we're hoping for from Comedy Central. So stay tuned. We will have an update for you on that very soon.
All right. So I think we're going to wrap up for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week at the same time. Bye.
Alrighty.